Hi, welcome to my video entitled Overcoming Fibromyalgia the Natural Way. Hopefully by now, if you're watching this video, you're still looking for some solutions for your fibromyalgia nightmare, which you're probably ready to pull your hair out at this time. You run from doctor to doctor and no one gives you answers, or you get a little bit closer, but you're never really getting those full answers to why you're suffering with fibromyalgia. What's more important is that the doctors may think you're crazy and you are looking for a solution once and for all to finally recover your life and start feeling the way you want to live. So I'm happy that you're here, that you're watching my video. I want you to write some things down and get the most information you can from this video. My goal is to reinvent your life and have maximum positive impact on everyone that I come in contact with. I see people that suffer with a variety of chronic conditions, and so my goal is really dedicated to helping you guys get your life back when you're suffering with this chronic condition, of which fibromyalgia is one. The purpose of this video is to give you a lot of information on fibromyalgia so you can overcome your fibromyalgia nightmare naturally. I'm sure that a lot of the things that I'm about to say in the next hour or so are going to be things that you've never ever heard before. So I want you to get a pen and paper and write some of these things down, and whatever you decide to do with this information, you'll have at least a new starting point in which you can get some significant improvements. I want to eliminate that roller coaster of going from doctor to doctor with no results. You need someone that's going to put all the variables together, and that's what we're going to be doing with this video. This DVD will provide the latest breakthrough in non-surgical, non-drug therapies for fibromyalgia. So this is going to be, again, stuff you've never heard before. So I want you to get a pen and paper out, and I want you to start writing down information. I'm going to probably be speaking 1,000 words a minute, but when I slow down and I emphasize a point, then that's a take-home message for you. I want you to write that down. So a little bit about myself. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I've been a chiropractor for the past 13 years. I've completed postgraduate work in Functional Medicine University, which basically looks at the body from a physiological point of view and from a biochemical point of view, and starts to try to determine why patients are suffering with chronic conditions like fibromyalgia. You may have brain fog, you may have chronic fatigue, you may have pain all over the body, you may have the feelings of being cold, or the inability to lose weight, or depression, or you just don't have that same energy in life. And it's not because you have a medication shortage of your life, or it's not because you need to be put on antidepressants, or it's not because you just need to clean up your diet, or you need to be a little more disciplined. Those are all crazy things that you may hear your doctor say that they actually tell you you're crazy. Those are the things that are crazy, that you can just do this or that. It's really putting the whole picture together, and that's what Functional Medicine University does. I'm also a diplomate in the American Association of Integrative Medicine, and I've studied blood chemistry, functional neurology, and mastering the brain by Datis Karazian. That's this book right here. Why isn't my brain working? This goes into all the reasons why, like infections, blood sugar dysregulations, autoimmunities, heavy metal toxicities, genetic polymorphisms, a lot of different things why you can be suffering with fibromyalgia. So this is a great book. So if you want to get a little more reference on how you can recover with fibromyalgia, you'll get it from this video, but you'll also get it from here. Why isn't my brain working? And that's a great, great book. So I've studied under Datis Karazian as well. So one thing I want to get off right from the very beginning is that I do not cure anything, or I do not treat anything. We are looking at helping your body restore the natural environment in the body. So we actually give you the ability to have the body work most optimally. So we don't say in our office we're treating your fibromyalgia or we're curing your fibromyalgia. We're just helping the body fight off the typical stressors that affect the body, such that it produces a fibromyalgic web of physiologic dysfunction, and we allow your body to function most optimally. So how do we do that? We do that by getting to the cause and not just addressing the symptoms. So we talked about having weight gain, chronic fatigue, multiple pain in different areas of the body, inability to sleep, to fall asleep, stay asleep, wake up feeling refreshed. These are all symptoms, and we don't treat the symptoms. We don't treat anything, but we want to address and help the body function most optimally by addressing the causes of fibromyalgia. So let's take a look at what some of these causes are. First and foremost is inflammation in the body. If you boil down all chronic conditions like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, even insomnia, thyroid problems, Crohn's, colitis, diabetes, IBS, there's so many autoimmunities, peripheral neuropathy. There's so many chronic conditions, and if you were to say there's a common thread amongst all these chronic conditions, inflammation would be the main common thread. Inflammation is rampant in our body, and when our body is inflamed, it doesn't function optimally. The best way I explain that is, imagine you have a blowtorch and you take a blowtorch to this TV and you just blow this TV to smithereens with your blowtorch. What's going to happen is that TV is not going to function properly, and that's the same thing in our body. If we have massive amounts of inflammation in our body, we are not going to function most optimally, and we'll have symptoms of fibromyalgia. So another reason why we have actually, let's go back. Another cause of why we would suffer with fibromyalgia is not only inflammation, but we have a number of toxins in the body. So we have heavy metal toxicities, cavities, amalgams, we have parasites, we have hidden viral infections, we have hidden bacteria infections, H. pylori. We also have Epstein-Barr potentially, or past herpes virus, Lyme's disease, molds, fungus. There's so many toxins that are in our body, and when we lose the immune tolerance to fight off these toxins, we start expressing different conditions, and again, fibromyalgia would be one of them. And then lastly, we have a decreased immune system. So we have inflammation in our body, we have toxins in our body, and then the next thing you know is our immune system, which fights off any type of foreign invader that the body wants to eliminate to function optimally. That immune system gets tired and it gets worn out. And so these are main causes of why we would have fibromyalgia. So I want to let you know that there is hope, and I am here to offer you that hope. I want you to sit back, take some notes, and get really, really into this video, because you're going to hear things that you've never heard before. So again, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I'm a board-certified chiropractic physician. I've been practicing since 2002. I practice applied kinesiology, which is muscle testing. We're going to get into that in this video today. Functional neurology, that's basically looking at the body and figuring out why we're not able to optimally function from a central nervous system point of view. And functional medicine, which we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm a member of the Neurometabolic Supergroup. That's a book. That's a group that this doctor wrote, Michael Johnson. You can beat thyroid disorders naturally. I study under him. He also wrote a book saying you can beat fibromyalgia naturally, and a lot of the techniques that he uses in that book we use in our program as well. And then he also wrote a book called What to Do When the Medications Don't Work, a non-drug treatment for dizziness, migraine headaches, fibromyalgia, and other chronic conditions. There's great resources. This is where you could write this down, www.askdrjohnson.com or www.lifechangingcare.com. And there's going to be a lot of information on what to do about your fibromyalgia nightmare. So again, we want to support the body in order for the body to allow for maximum healing. And it's basically all about maximum healing. If you weren't to watch this video and you turned it off right now, I'd want you to write this down. Write down, my body can heal from anything if it's given the proper environment. And so again, my body can heal from any condition if it's given the proper environment. So what we need to do is we need to achieve that proper environment so that your body can heal as much as it can. So if you're tired of running around from doctor to doctor with your fibromyalgia problem, let's look at some of the symptoms so that we can figure out how we're going to be able to help you. So some of the symptoms, again, we mentioned a little bit earlier, are chronic pain, chronic fatigue, inability to sleep, insomnia, brain fog, IBS, gut problems, bloating, gas, distension, diarrhea and constipation, migraine, headaches, impaired memory, poor concentration, not knowing where you put your keys, or going out to your car and not being able to find your car, or where did you put your wallet, skin sensitivity and rashes, anxiety and depression, that's a brain component of this, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, dry eye or dry mouth, dizziness and or impaired coordination. Like I said earlier, you have fibromyalgia. You've been lumped into this big, I guess, catchphrase of the doctor doesn't know what to do with you, so let's call it fibromyalgia. But what we know is we have massive inflammation in the body, we have toxicity in the body, and a decreased immune response. So those are big threes that I want you to write down: is inflammation, toxicity, and immune response. And we need to fix the inflammation, so we need to reduce inflammation, we need to eliminate the toxins, and we need to increase our immune response. All right, so to the number one cause of massive inflammation, toxicity, and decreased immune response. Why would we have this? Let's talk about that. And that would be acidity. So we've probably heard in the literature or watching TV or in our quest to get healthy that we're too acidic, or we want to become more alkaline. And the reason that is because when we have an acidic environment in our body, that's where toxins love to live. And that's when toxins are in our body, it creates immune reactions, creates inflammation. So let's get back to trying to become more alkaline. One of the ways we do that in our office is we do pH testing with strips. So our optimal pH balance is anywhere between 6.4 and actually I'd even say 6.6 to 7.0. And so what we do is we suggest that our patients in their first morning sample of their urine, they get the dipstick out, they put it in the cup, hold it there for about 30 seconds, and then you can see a little color-coded chart on the back, and we want to make sure that we're in some kind of green area. 6.7 is one area, or 6.5, so you're going to see a little bit of green, and we want to go right to 7.0. So we don't test the saliva, we test the urine sample in the morning. And what we do is when we figure out how toxic we are by looking at how acidic our body is, then we have some supplements that we use, like Coral Legend is wonderful, ionic mineral drops, we even use aloe, and those are the things that are going to help try to up your acidity in your body. So why would we be acidic again? Causes are we have heavy metals, so amalgams in the teeth, dental infections, poor diet, so the standard American diet with processed foods and too much sugars and artificial sweeteners or artificial flavors. These are all going to create acidity in our body. So I think you probably are well aware that, you know, changing your diet is very, very important, but it's not the only thing. I mean, I'm sure you probably eat as healthy as you can, or you're aware that you have to change some of the things in your diet, and you've been doing it. I talked to someone earlier today, and she's been gluten-free and dairy-free since, I think she said, 1999. So we're talking, you know, 15 years, and here she is, she's still suffering. So there's got to be something more to that. So I asked her about her acidity in her body, if she was aware, and she wasn't. So one of the very things that we tell you to do is let's make sure we chart our acidity or our morning urine pH and get it to an area where we want to be. Also, being above 7.0 is not good either. That means we're too alkaline, and that can create a whole host of problems too. So, you know, in life we want a balance, a healthy balance between too much and too little. We want to be right in the middle, and for pH, 6.6 to 7.0. I may be crazy, but I can go out to probably 85% of the population and give them a urine dipstick, and we would find that the majority of them would be too low pH, would be below 6.6. And in fact, you'd see them in the 5s. All right, so how do you see if you're alkaline? And we talked about that. We do the pH strips, not saliva. When you're acidic, your body leaches minerals out of your bone and helps to buffer your blood supply. So one of the ways that I know someone has too much acidity in their body is they start having diminished bone density. So a lot of females that we see, and even males nowadays, have too little bone density, and that's because they are trying to buffer the pH. So our minerals in our body, calcium, magnesium, zinc, all these different metals in our body are minerals that help buffer the blood and make sure that we are fighting off infection and enzymes are taking place in the body and it's functioning the way it needs to function. When you are acidic, you're more likely to have heavy metal toxicity because of the milieu or the end result of free radicals. So our body, again, is trying to quench the free radicals, eliminate inflammation, and in that process, we become very inflamed, and that creates a decrease in our acidity. So, being acidic sets your internal environment for breeding ground for viruses and bacteria. I see a lot of hidden viruses in my practice. Viruses like herpes virus, Epstein-Barr virus. So if you ever had mono, then typically a virus, not typically, a virus never goes away. So if your immune system becomes chronically challenged from other bacteria or viruses or food sources or heavy metals, then the next thing you know is that virus that was hidden for so long starts to rear its ugly head. And that's why you'll see someone that has potentially a blister or a sore on the mouth. It waxes and wanes and it goes away and it comes back. So there are certain nutritional things that you can do to really get that immune system functioning most optimally, so those hidden virals never really come back and you don't take foothold in your body. If you've ever wondered why you're susceptible to colds and flus, this is the reason. So your immune system gets taxed. Let's say we find out about something that our kid did, they got in trouble with the law, or they had poor grades, or they're making wrong decisions, or they're just getting into trouble, or our parents are aging and their brain decline is getting worse and worse, and they're not able to be self-sufficient. All of a sudden, all that stress was borne onto you, and now your immune system becomes severely depleted and you get sick. So if this makes sense where you're always sick or you're running from one stressor to the next stressor, then certainly not only are your adrenal glands getting completely destroyed, but your fibromyalgia symptoms are coming back. So that's one of the big ways that you're going to continue to suffer with fibromyalgia. So things you can do naturally, though, you know, not everyone that watches this video is going to come in and see me. That's fine. I want to provide, like I said at the beginning of this video, the most information that I possibly can for you. So one of the things, if you're not doing already, is change your diet. Eat more vegetables. Drink good water. We should be drinking about half our body weight in ounces each day. So if I weigh 180 pounds, I should be drinking 80 ounces of water each day, and that's good, clean water, not tap water. Hopefully it's distilled water. I even like to put a little bit of salt in there, some pink salt. We have a great array of different supplements that we use, and we'll get into that in this video, and that will help hydrate you and become more alkaline. So if you have overall body pain, which fibromyalgia is mainly defined by overall body pain, then we know that you're going to be very, very acid, and you're losing your minerals on a daily basis. In fact, we could be losing so much zinc in our urine each day that vital processes that are responsible for detoxification, neurotransmitters, liver function, immune function is not able to happen and take place, and all of a sudden we're left with, you know, taking an antidepressant because our doctor said we were crazy, that we shouldn't be feeling the way that we are. So again, you'll see in this video, typically I have two spots. I'm standing in one spot. If I stood over here, this would be my soapbox. If I stood over here, this would be me trying to be rational. in my soapbox, I'm going to tell you that your doctor does a great job of acute conditions. So conditions like broken bones, even heart attacks, major infections where they just blow the bacteria up to smithereens, I said earlier. They do a great job of that. But when it comes to a chronic condition like fibromyalgia, they do a lousy job. And the reason that is because pharmaceutical model is in bed with the insurance model. And so when you have a chronic condition, you have so many things that are going on in the body, and the doctor doesn't have time, based on the insurance-based model of healthcare, to look at all your blood work and look at all the vital processes and the physiological functions that are going on in the body and the biochemical breakdowns. They don't have time to look at that. They have time to look at your blood results and say you're too high or too low in this, or nothing's wrong. Take this medication or that medication, and it's not going to do anything to try to fix you. So again, I'll get off my soapbox and we'll step back over here. So the bottom line is that you're not under-medicated, or you're under-healthy, and you need to get that health back into optimal health. One of the exercises that I do with my patients to get them to really drive that point home is I say, okay, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to think about 2 things that you could be doing right now that would make you infinitely more healthy. Okay, so let's have you try that. So close your eyes, think of 2 things that you could do right now that would make you more healthy. So let's give you a couple seconds. Okay, so did any of you say, I could take more medication? Probably not. The reason why is because we don't inherently think that we need to take more medication. I think studies have showed that we're 3% of the world population, and we use over 50% of the world's pharmaceutical supply. And also, we rank 50th as a nation, the United States, in terms of what's considered healthy. So obviously something's not working. Again, back on my soapbox, when I opened my doors in 2008, I've been practicing since 2002. I was working in another office. I've opened this office in 2008. Even in 2002, I was getting paid more for my Medicare patients, which all insurance benchmarks their rates and their usual and customary procedures versus Medicare. I was getting paid more with Medicare than I am in the year 2014. So what does that mean? Do I need to see more of you or less of you to make the same amount of money? Now, I need to see more of you. So I'm not going to have the time to sit down and go over all your testing, if there's heavy metal problems, if you're too acidic, if you have toxins in the body, if you're inflamed, what your blood tests look like. I'm not going to have time to do that because I'm getting paid less from Medicare than I was in 2002. And so it's easier to just give you a medication, and if I don't find anything, then the problem isn't with me, it's with you, and more than likely you need to be on an antidepressant. So again, I'll get off my soapbox and we'll get back into things that we can do naturally to try to help you. So in order to increase your pH, you're going to have to take some supplements. And again, I talked a little bit about that. We have Coral Legend, which we love to use. I use these ionic mineral drops. I have also these test strips. So there's things that we can do in the office. We have aloe vera juice that's going to be very soothing and helps get the drives in those basically those minerals into the body. And then we also suggest vitamin D. I can't tell you how many people I see that have vitamin D less than 30 when you should be somewhere in the 60 to 80 range. In fact, some of my patients come in and they say, my doctor told me that you're crazy, that I'm crazy, that I told them that their vitamin D should be in the 80 range. And that tells me that that doctor is probably trying to do the best job they can for you. But you know what? in my soapbox, they're 13 years on average behind the research that's being published in their own journals. Journal of JAMA Journal, New England, Nature Journal. All these journals have posted the utility of having vitamin D at an optimal range, especially for patients like you that suffer with fibromyalgia. Typically, you're going to find that you're an autoimmune patient and your own immune system has been going haywire for so long that it's actually attacking your own body. And so if we want something that's going to help you naturally, then vitamin D is going to be one of them. And you know what? Not insurance companies, pharmaceutical companies hate nutritional companies because they know that these things that are natural to the body can allow the body to heal the way it needs to heal. Remember what I said earlier, is if you weren't able to watch this video and there was one thing you were going to learn about this, about your condition and what you can do, is your body has the ability to heal naturally given the right environment. Vitamin D is one of those natural things that you can do that will help you. So off of that again. So the major problem with a lot of the supplements that I find out there is they're poor, they're cheap nutritional supplements. They have tag-alongs. You know, when you're mixing, let's say you're mixing a powder and you want it to become solvent in a liquid, there's little clumps in there. And those clumps are problematic because when you're making a supplement, you can't have things that stick together. So they call them flowing agents or tag-alongs, that they convert a supplement into a pill. First thing I would say is write this down, is if you're go and look at your supplements, and then if any of your supplements are a white pill, like a like a chalky pill, then you need to know that there's a lot of glues and binders and fillers that they've put in there. So the first thing you want to do is throw those out. You want to have a supplement that's going to be have it's like a capsule, and then you can open it up and then it comes out, because at least we know that there's no chalks, talcs, glues in those. There may be, but the bottom line is supplements nowadays are so cheap. And if you're getting your supplement from Walgreens, from Walmart, or even Vitamin World, I urge you to at least come in here and let me test you to see if those are healthy for you. We'll do some muscle testing, but at least look at some of the back, like magnesium stearate. We'll get into that with this video. The bottom line is that poor, cheap nutritional supplements, even though you're thinking that they're going to help you, they aren't helping you, and they're making it more toxic to your body. And that's a big problem. There's actually even a consumer report that says 10 surprising dangers with vitamins and supplements. That was in this consumer report. And they talk all about toxic tag-alongs and fillers and binders and crap that they put in there, that they're trying to save money. They're not regulated by the FDA, and so they're out for profit, and they're trying to basically pull one over on you by giving you cheap supplements. And I would say cheap is expensive. Sometimes we don't want to chintz on our health. When it comes to a vacation or a car or clothes, I could understand trying to save a little bit of money. But when it comes to your health and you living the way you want to live, I don't agree with saving money. You got to spend money to be able to be as healthy as you possibly can. That doesn't mean we have an unlimited budget and we can spend as much as we want. It just basically means that when it comes to quality care for your body and for your health, then that's something that you're not looking to save money on. I mean, you're trying to be budgeting, but at least spend money when it's needed. All right, back over here. So avoid anything that says enriched. Breads, pastas, crackers, cereals, waffles, rolls, buns, pancakes. There's a video on YouTube. If you go on YouTube and you Google or put on YouTube magnetic cornflakes, it will show you that these cornflakes are actually magnetized and they'll come towards the outer bowl. That's because they're enhanced with iron. And when you take something that's enhanced or enriched and you're putting iron in there, then you're going to have that toxic load on your body. Besides which, you probably shouldn't be eating breads, pastas, and crackers anyways, which we can get to a little bit with this video. But avoid anything enriched bread, enriched pasta. If you don't learn anything from this video by now, then please don't eat anything that says enriched. Organophosphates, these are other things that are in supplements, and they'll deplete the body's liver's ability to detoxify. And again, we have inflammation, toxins and immune dysregulation. One of the main ways that we fight off these things is through detoxifying through the liver. And if your liver is not functioning optimally because you're taking a supplement that has organophosphates in it, then you are actually doing yourself a disservice, and it's going to be very, very, very hard to help with your fibromyalgia. Vitamin D, we talked about that earlier. A lot of my patients come in and say, "Don't worry, doc, I'm taking vitamin D," and it's a cheap vitamin D. We sell vitamin D in here. It's in my chart, in my panel here. I sell it for $11, so it doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to be the good stuff. And a lot of the vitamin Ds that are on the market are actually extracted from sheep's wool. So I don't need to say anything more about that. Coenzyme Q10, that's a great supplement for heart function and energy production, but a lot of the supplements on the market are actually oxidized and they're no longer available, bioavailable for your cells. B vitamins, most B vitamins contain coal tar derivatives and resin. And, come on in, bring your vitamins or supplements, and I'll test you and show you that it's not resonating with your body and it's actually detracting from the energy in your body. Ascorbic acid is not vitamin C. It's a chemical that's produced in a plant that is mimicking vitamin C, but it's not vitamin C. My goal with all my patients is to get them taking natural foods and plants to help the body able to heal itself. And so it kind of becomes a problem, just like pills become a problem, is you don't want to just take this pill or this supplement or that supplement. You want to take a whole food-based supplement that's going to have all the cofactors and the synergy in that plant food or that once living sourced food, so that it's going to allow your body to heal properly. And ascorbic acid is not vitamin C. So again, animal glandulars, I have a lot of patients that take this glandular or that glandular. Anything that animal has been exposed to, you will be exposed to. So hormones, antibiotics, other drugs, pesticides, GMOs, not to get too crazy on you, but a lot of companies like Monsanto and other companies that are out there, they're out there to make profits. They don't care about your health. They want to figure out the bottom line is saving money and maximizing profit. So if we can increase yield by putting pesticides on there, and those will grow better, and we can modify the food so it costs less to plant and more to yield, we get more yields out of it, then we can make more money. We don't care about your health. So animal glandulars are one of those things that can cause problems with the body. I'll get off of my soapbox there. Synthetic nutritional supplements can actually cause free radicals and exotoxin. Additionally, they're full of chemicals that cause xenoestrogens. And xenoestrogens are in plastics, they're in pesticides, and these are things that are what we call endocrine disruptors. So you may have a menstrual problem, or you may, if you're a guy, you may have low testosterone and low energy. Whenever we have these xenoestrogens enter our body, they compete for receptor sites where natural hormones are supposed to bind to, and when that happens, then we start displaying symptoms, of which fibromyalgia is lumped under one big category. So again, that's a huge problem as well. So be real careful with your supplements, people, because you need to have the best supplements, and I believe Premier Research Labs that we sell in our office are the best supplements out there. Free radicals cause exotoxins, massive inflammation, toxicity, and decreased immune response. So again, your supplements could be causing all the things that are the main causes for the umbrella term of fibromyalgia. So you got to be careful about that. Avoid anything that says enriched. We talked about that earlier. Ascorbic acid is not vitamin C. It's processed in junk foods. It's crap. When ascorbic acid is consumed with enriched iron, the iron can cause oxidation of the ascorbic acid, and that creates harmful effects to the brain. So that's certainly not what we're looking for, obviously. And so you wonder why you have brain fog. One of the reasons we have brain fog is because of the crappy supplements we're taking. That was just one example. I could give you plenty of other examples like tyrosine. Tyrosine is made from a combination of iron and phenylalanine, and rock iron accumulation from enriched food causes livers not to absorb the iron anymore, and therefore we can't make tyrosine, and tyrosine is necessary for converting to T4 into T3. It's also necessary for making T4. So if you have a thyroid problem, then potentially it could be because some of the supplements that you're taking as well. So the number 2 cause is inflammation and toxicity and lower immune response. Free radicals and exotoxins. Let's talk a little bit about that. Long before fibromyalgia had ever been diagnosed, the affected individual has typically been exposed to a plethora of heavy metals, toxic chemicals, inadequate nutrition, free radical damage, and exotoxins. So let's talk a little bit about free radicals. Free radicals damage the energy mitochondria. So we have these cells in our body, going back to biology 101, and in these cells is the mitochondria. And in the mitochondria, that's where energy is produced. So ADP is produced from ATP, and somewhere along the line, you think about all these cellular functions as little factory workers, and each person has, sitting on the assembly line, and they got to do something, and then they can't do anything until this person behind them or in front of them does their job, and then once I do my job, then I give it to someone else. Energy is the main job of the mitochondria, and when we have free radical damage, then the energy production. So let's imagine if I'm the mitochondria on the assembly line and it's my time to sort of create that finished product. I'm not going to be able to do that if there's a lot of free radical damage, a lot of people that are, distracting me from doing my job. And that's what that is. And when that happens, we're not able to produce energy in our body. We're not able for the cells to function. We're not able to reduce inflammation. We're not able to decrease immune reactions. And we're not able to detoxify. So can you see a couple of these patterns that are starting to develop here? So what is the reason that we would have exotoxins in our body or free radical damage? One of the main reasons is the use of trans fatty acids, hydrogenated oil. So if you look on your list of ingredients on your supplements, and you're buying things that are opened in boxes and they're having to be preserved and they're in wrappers and they're not fresh foods, then you're going to see partially hydrogenated fatty acids, and those are hydrogenated oils, which means it's not a natural occurring oil, and your body doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know how to detoxify it, creates free radical damage, and then the next thing you know, your mitochondria isn't able to create energy, and you're suffering with fibromyalgia, and you're trying to take this pill or that pill, and that's not going to work. Diet high in refined sugars, white flour, white salt, food sensitivities, never even talked about that. Imagine you eat a dairy, and these dairy peptide structures now start to get not digested optimally in the GI tract, and then they create inflammation, and now you've developed a sensitivity to gluten or to dairy. And I have a lot of my patients that say, you know what, I don't have a dairy reaction. And I, well, how would you know? She goes, well, I feel fine after. It doesn't bother me at all. And we're not talking about an immediate reaction like an IgE reaction where you have a hyperallergenic reaction to peanuts. We're talking about a delayed onset reaction, and this is more IgG or IgM mediated, and we do a lot of this testing in our office, not just with an allergy. So if you've said, I've already done sensitivity testing, they did a skin fold test and they found that I didn't have any allergies, great. You don't have an allergy with an IgE reaction where you're having an immediate reaction. You may have more of an insidious reaction that can take 3 to 5 days to really create immune reactions in your body. So don't just think just because you're not reacting to soy or egg or milk, it doesn't upset your stomach. You never had problems before. You even did a skin fold test and it showed that it was negative. That's a false negative. You more than likely are reacting to foods, and you don't know until you test. And I would urge you to test because it's very important. It could be creating that inflammation in your body. Toxic chemicals, hormones in meat. A lot of people used to think I was crazy when I would go on non-organic food, and I would start saying you can't eat these things. But there's bovine growth hormone in our milk. I would even not even suggesting milk. There's hormones in the chicken, and you just got to get off of these things. So there's a lot of pesticides that spray our non-organic fruits, and that's going to create a lot of toxic chemicals and free radical damage in our body. Heavy metals, so mercury amalgams, fumigants, we spray beds, we spray we go to the cleaners and we put them in it, we clean them, and then we spray this fumigant on there, and we put plastics over it, and then we smell these things, and that's going to create a lot of problems in our body. Antiperspirants have aluminum on them. Packaged food has mercury in them. There's everywhere, and you can really become crazy about it. You don't necessarily have to stop your life, but you need to make some serious changes if you're suffering with fibromyalgia. And these are some of them, going to another deodorant that doesn't have aluminum in it, or going to a different dry cleaners that's using non-fumigated toxic chemicals, or getting your mercury amalgams removed. I mean, it's a bit of a drag, but it's a small hinge that swings a big door, and you really need to start to try to think of your life as just small little things you can do that will change, and you can recover your life. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you learn how to do that and really get your life back in order. And hopefully you've been hearing things that you haven't been hearing any other doctor tell you, and you're starting to think that this is making a lot of sense to you. Exotoxins. Exotoxins are things like neurotransmitters that can cause cell death when their action is prolonged. What are exotoxins? Compounds like MSG in Chinese food, dining out a lot. They put that to help preserve the foods and get you feeling fuller. Aspartame. It drives me crazy when I go to Starbucks and someone gets like a triple grande 7 pump with 6 equals in there. I just want to pull my hair out. There's exotoxins in there, and that's linked to neurotransmitter and neurological problems like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and it creates a lot of inflammation in the body in the way of homocysteine. And we always check a person's homocysteine levels when they come in. If they haven't done blood work for homocysteine or uric acid or C-reactive protein, we can't tell how much inflammation is going on in your body. So those are 3 of the main things that I like to look at when we're looking at your blood work. Exotoxins can cause premature death, initiating the P530 gene, and that will start to create defects in your body. When aluminum is bound to exotoxic like glutamic acid, its entry into the brain is really elevated, and that can create free radical damage in the brain. So these are things like not knowing where you put your keys, or not knowing where you put your car, or not feeling steady on your feet, or headaches. These are a lot of problems that you can develop. There's a lot of studies that I have that show that. I don't really need to talk too much about that, but there's a lot of research in that. Number 3 reason why we have increased inflammation and toxicity and a lower immune response in our body is infection. So we talked a little bit about this earlier. Dental infections, root canals. I get a lot of patients that come to my office and say, come to think of it, I went for a root canal a week ago. That's a barrier system breach. So we talk about barrier systems in our body. We have our skin, we have our lungs, we have our gastrointestinal tract, and we have our brain barrier. It's like the house, the physical structure of the house. And anytime there's a crack in the roof, or there's a broken window, or there's a rip in the screen, anything can get into our house when that happens, and then that can create a lot of problems. Let's say we get mold in our house, or we get some bugs that come into our house, or ants. They start to attack our house and create havoc. And dental infections and root canals are one of those things that can create a breach in your blood-brain barrier, and the next thing you know is you're starting to have a hidden infection. Parasites, viruses, people who eat sushi. In fact, myself, I recently tested positive for parasites. We look at your white blood cells, we look at your monocytes, your eosinophils, and a lot of patients that come in are told, you know what, your blood tests are normal. And when we look at them with a microscope and say, okay, let's look at a much narrow range where we can actually tell you where there's problems versus it's not so high, it's so low that you need to be on medication, you can still yield symptoms without being too high or too low. And there's a great book called Thyroid Disorders. Why do I still have problems when my blood tests are normal? The reason your blood tests are normal and you're told that you don't have an infection, you don't have a parasite, you don't have a virus, you don't have a bacteria problem is because your blood ranges have to be so high or so low before they actually do anything about it. I always make a joke, I'll come over here, is a lot of the times medical doctors, they can't help you until you get too sick. And then when you get sick, they'll give you medication. Whereas functional medicine practitioners can help you before you get too sick. It's almost like I have kids that are 11 years old, and let's say my son gets a C+ on a test. If I was the teacher in the medical model, I would say, sorry, Mr. Rosen, I can't help you with your son's grades yet because he's not failing. And when he fails, then we can start to give you extra help. But doesn't it make sense to actually get extra help when you're getting a C+ versus when you're getting an F? That's kind of like functional medicine and not looking at it from a narrowly scoped view. So you may have parasites and viruses and bacteria, most likely you do, and that's causing your immune system, your inflammation, and your toxicity in your body, and no one's telling you about it. So I'll come back over here to my non-soapbox area. Organic organ infections, liver flukes. So a lot of the times we'll do some muscle testing, which we'll get into in a second. And we can determine if you have a highly functioning organ tissue, and if not, then most likely there's some form of infection. And I always try to marry the energy work and the muscle testing with the science, so that we can look in your blood work and we can say, okay, Mrs. Jones, you do have some sort of long-standing infection. You do have potentially an anemia or blood sugar dysregulation, or high inflammation in terms of homocysteine, uric acid, C-reactive protein. So there's something going on. Let's go do some muscle testing and see where it's happening. And patients understand that. There's some good resources with dental issues, noamalgam.com. You can learn a little bit about how to get your amalgams removed properly. If it's not done properly and there's not fumigated properly or irrigated properly, then potentially you're going to create a whole host of new problems to you. So be really, really careful before you do anything to look on that. Or another helpful website is ioamt.org. There's some great information about natural dentists in your area. So we're discussing heavy metal toxic exposure. Where do we get this stuff? We're talking about mercury, nickel, aluminum. People understand typically we get it in the teeth. That makes sense. Your mouth may have mercury amalgams, nickel crowns, and when you have two dissimilar metals that mix together, that creates almost like a charge, and this causes minerals to leach out of the body. So, I have this myself, and I'm in the process of removing it. But when we have that, it's 80 times faster that our acidic body needs to be buffered. And when we have these amalgams in our mouth, it creates that much quicker of a reaction of free radicals in our body. Another mercury contaminant are grains, produce. Do you know that mercury fumigants are used in buildings where they store the grains? So that's a big problem as well. Eating fish in moderation, because they're in these big gamey fish like tuna, swordfish, orange roughy. There's mercury content in them as well. And that lets me get into the parathyroid. There's a lot, you may be told you have a thyroid problem, or you have heard of the thyroid, but you've never heard of the parathyroid. And the parathyroid is on either side of the thyroid, and it's just as important as the thyroid itself. And it's the reason I'm talking about it right now is because it's one of the main glands in our body that helps us with heavy metal exposure. No one is addressing this, and we can do muscle testing to determine if you have a parathyroid problem. The major function of the parathyroid gland is to maintain your calcium level. So let's say we're very acidic, we have all these exotoxins in our body, we have free radical damage, we need to buffer, we're very acidic, we need to buffer the acidity in our body. We need calcium to be able to be put into the bloodstream. But oh, guess what? Our parathyroid is being under attack from heavy metals, and it's not able to buffer it. So now we start leaching it from the bone. It's a big problem. So what we use in the office is we use something called green TND. This is a pre-digested heavy antioxidant solution that we put in our water, and we just sort of sip it throughout the whole day, and that will help get our parathyroid gland working more optimally. So the next thing to talk about is number 4 cause of increased inflammation, toxicity, and a decreased immune system, and that's autoimmunity. Autoimmunity is sort of like when you think of your body like a, I guess like a piece of wood. And when you have termites that are attacking that piece of wood, ultimately you can see all those little grooves and wiggles and so forth eating through the wood. Ultimately that wood is going to decay and rot from the inside. That's what an autoimmunity is. So when my own immune system, which is designed to attack whatever foreign invader comes in contact with it, my own immune system will start attacking internal invaders like that they think are invaders, like my gallbladder or my thyroid or my parathyroid or my pancreas. So that's what an autoimmunity is. So it basically means that your own immune system is attacking its own body. So how do we stop the immune system from attacking our own body? It's a good question. We need to decrease the inflammation. We need to detoxify the immune system or detoxify the body, get the liver working properly, and we also need to build up the immune system. And remember what I said, 80% of our immune system is in our gut, in our GI lining. So what's the best way for building up your immune system is to repair the gut. One of the main things that we suggest and protocols that we use in our office. There are 2 parts to the immune system, just to get into that a little bit, Th1 and Th2. It's a balance. So you have an immune system that comes on and fights the foreign invaders right away. And then you have ones that take a little bit more time to come in and fight the foreign invaders, and that's what your antibodies are. So that takes a little bit more time. The Th1 is more of the immediate lines of defense that goes in there and attacks it, and then you send in reinforcements. That's the Th2. And for us to have a optimally functioning immune system, you have to make sure that the immediate first responders, the Th1 side of the equation, is balanced with the Th2 responders. And if it isn't, then we have dysregulation of our immune system, and then we could start having autoimmunities or things that start attacking our body. So if you're suffering with fibromyalgia, there's a great likelihood that the reason why you're not able to detoxify, decrease inflammation in your body, fight off immune reactions is because you have an autoimmunity, and that's causing you your fatigue and all sorts of terrible problems. So you need to increase the function of the immune system. You need to, if Th1 is low and Th2 is high, you need to bring up Th2. If Th1 or the other way around, if Th2 is low and Th1 is high, you need to bring it up. So you need, it's like a teeter-totter. You can't have too much of one side or too much of the other side. So Th1, these are the destroyers. These are sort of like the Pac-Man of the body that come in there and engulf the foreign invader right away. And Th2, is your memory system. So these are sort of like the private detectives that remember each case and come in there, and then, you know, if I'm a detective and I work the Johnson case, then whenever the Johnson case strikes again, then they're going to call on me because I'm a specialized agent for that particular case. We have specialized agents throughout our entire body or through our entire immune system that fight different invaders that we've come in contact with, and then we summon them to come up to the scene when that particular invader comes to the body. So Th1 and Th2, like I mentioned, they have to be balanced. There's different things that we know through the research that help Th1, so things like vitamin A, vitamin C, zinc, astragalus, echinacea, licorice, lemon balm, maitake mushroom, and garlic. Those are very, very powerful things. And then Th2, more pine bark extract, green tea, grapeseed, resveratrol, pycnogenol, lycopene, and caffeine. So these, we know if you do well with caffeine, even though there's a lot of problems with caffeine, how it's a diuretic and it's a stimulant and drains our adrenal glands. Some patients say they do really well with caffeine. Then we know that they may be Th1 dominant, and when they get a Th2 support nutritional system into their body, they start to feel better. Or vice versa, if someone is Th2 dominant and they have some of these support substances, then they know, yeah, that makes me feel terrible. So that's a good indication. But like I mentioned, 80% of your immune system is in your gut, so we really need to address that part of the immune system. One of the biggest problems that I see with people that suffer with fibromyalgia is the fact that we have hypochloridria. So that's probably one of those things that you want to write down. That's one of those million-dollar terms that you've never heard about that you need to hear about. So hypochloridria is when we have too little stomach acid in our system. We've been engineered basically to eat raw foods, and then with technology and industrialized nations and just the way we've evolved in our life, we've started to cook our food beyond all recognition. And what happens is our body has to use a internal defense, which is secreting acid, and then that acid needs to go and digest all the foods that we eat, namely the proteins. And we eat a very, very heavy protein-based diet. So the more we eat cooked foods over a lifetime, it's found that we run out of these reserves that produce acid in order to disinfect the food. And not only does it disinfect the food, but it actually goes in there like acid would, and it dissolves the food. So it's disinfecting it from the point of view that there may be foreign invaders, pathogens, parasites, bacteria, fungus, whatever may be in that particular food source. It may be a contaminated supply. And then so your acid would normally just break all that up and disinfect it. But when over age, when we're not engineered to eat a diet full of cooked foods over and over again, by the age of 30 even, that's when we start to develop low stomach acid. And so what happens is we're not able to digest that food very well. And then guess what we have? We have acid reflux. So right now you should probably be scratching your head and thinking, well, I thought that acid reflux was for, when you have too much stomach acid. And that's one of the major myths in medicine that's out there today. And these drug companies that, if I stand over here and talk to you about my soapbox, and these drug companies, you may not believe this, but they're out for profit. And they want to figure out how much they can sell the American public on very common ailments that we suffer with. So they think that stomach acid is a big problem, and your doctor has even told you stomach acid is a big problem, but it's not because you have too much stomach acid the majority of the time. It's because you have too little stomach acid. So when you have too little stomach acid, guess what happens? That food in there, it rots. It doesn't get digested, it doesn't get disinfected, it doesn't get broken down, and it just sort of sits there. And then we call that fermentation. But really it's rotting in that area, and then guess what happens? It creates this gastric reflux and acid problems, and it's actually lactic acid versus too much hydrochloric acid. So what happens is we take these antacids, we drive down the acidity. It helps a little bit with the lactic acid that's produced from the fermentation or the lack of digestion that's occurring because we don't have enough stomach acid. But we even go into a negative spiral, and that makes us not even absorb our foods even better. So guess what? 80% of our immune system is in our gut, and we haven't helped out our immune system. So I'm going to stand back over here. So it's basically decreased stomach acid. So one of the things that I suggest in our office is a stomach acid or an acid that you can take after you eat your food. And I'd probably say hands down, of all the supplements that I've ever taken in my entire life, I've been taking supplements probably since I'm 12 years old, when I would watch those bodybuilding magazines and I would read all the supplements that these people were taking, and I wanted to emulate them. And these supplements, I mean, if you think supplements are bad in 2014, imagine how bad they tasted in 1985. They were really bad stuff. So But I can tell you that without a doubt, hands down, taking HCl has done nothing like any other supplement that I've taken. So again, if you're watching this video and you're thinking that this makes a lot of sense to you, or this crazy doctor, is crazy and I don't want to see him, the one thing I would say to you is go out and get a good HCl supplement. I use what's called Premier Research Labs. They have a Premier HCl. Go online, order it from them, come to my office, get it from me, and you'll find that you're digesting food a lot better. And then guess what? You're absorbing food, and your nutrients are getting to your cells like water is getting to a plant. It's making it alive again. So, the other thing that I needed to talk about is your methyl donors. So HCl is one of the main methyl donors in our bodies. From a biochemical point of view, a methyl group is a carbon that has a bunch of hydrogen that come off of it. And in plain English, what happens is when we eat a diet that's cooked and not raw, each cell in our body loses 1,800 methyl groups. And if we eat a raw food diet, each cell in our body loses 1,200 methyl groups. So that's a difference of 600 methyl groups. So you can see that if you're going to turn into more of a raw foodist, that you're going to get back 1/3 of your life because you're not burning as much methyl groups. The thing that's really, really important about methyl groups is that it actually helps repair DNA. And so if we start having fatigue, pain, our hair turns gray prematurely, skin doesn't repair itself, defects, even cancer, what's happening is you're getting rogue cells being developed in your DNA. And so believe it or not, HCl is one of the main methyl group donors. It's going to help protect your DNA, which is really good. So how do we test to determine if you have hypochlorhydria? There's two ways we can do it. Number one, the scientific way. Even though your doctor does these tests, they're not going to tell you because they're just not, they're not looking at your blood tests. Again, I learned something over the weekend. Guess who reads your blood tests when you go see the doctor? Your answer is the doctor, but I would say that's wrong. The answer is the computer. The computer prints out a program of your blood results and it shows if they're normal, supposedly normal, or if they're high and low. And if they're high and low, it puts an L or it puts an H. And that's all we're told, and we're told to take this pill or that pill. So anyways, some of the tests that we look at when we're testing out for hypochlorhydria in the blood is total protein. We would see total protein be lowered, BUN, blood urea nitrogen. So if we're not clearing the metabolism of amino acids, which is protein, out of our body, could mean two problems. Number one, it could mean that our liver is unhealthy, and it could mean that our kidneys are unhealthy. If it's elevated, then potentially we're not clearing the blood urea nitrogen from our body, and we know that we have potentially a hypochlorhydric problem. Serum globulin, that's a type of protein that helps out with infections, and that could be diminished or elevated with food sensitivities and or hypochlorhydria. Phosphorus, calcium, and creatinine. So those are things that I'd look at in your blood and tell you, hey, it looks like we got a hypochlorhydric problem. But nonetheless, I wouldn't even need that. I can just tell if you're over than 30 and you've had some fibromyalgia for many, many years, then you are hypochlorhydric. And that's one of the main ways we're going to be able to help you. So the other way we do it is through applied kinesiology, and that's what I have here. So the way I explain that is, imagine your body is an energy producing machine, which it is. And so what happens is in Chinese medicine, we have acupuncture points all over the body that are responsible for different meridians. And qi flows through our body and communicates with every cell in the body. And that's the energy system. So it's not the nervous system, it's not the blood supply system, it's the energy system, which is sort of a taboo subject for a lot of people, but it really is in the cutting edge of medicine and energetic medicines, and it can develop, or it can identify problems that are happening in your body before it takes a stranglehold of your cells and creates outward symptoms and diseases. So with applied kinesiology, what we do is we test your energetics of your body. So imagine I'm a person, and then I get struck down by lightning and I'm on the ground and I'm dead. Let's just knock on wood so that doesn't happen. And So I was alive 2 seconds ago, now I'm dead. Something's missing from my body. I mean, all my cells are there, they haven't decomposed, my physical structure is there, but the life force is gone, the energy system is gone. So what we do when we do muscle testing in our office for hypochlorhydria, we test your stomach point, which is basically halfway between the xiphoid process and the belly button. So I press right in there, and then I test the person's strength, and if they go weak, then potentially we have stress to that stomach system, and that's another way that we test. But we don't just test the stomach, we can test the parathyroid, we can test the thyroid, we can test the entire digestive chain, which would be small intestine, which is very important for absorption, where our pancreatic enzymes get secreted to break down some of those carbohydrates and absorb fats and eliminate bile from our stomach. Also, we can test your large intestines, which is important for water absorption, fat-soluble vitamin absorption, sodium absorption. We could test your kidneys and gallbladder, and also your liver, spleen, and pancreas. So those are many important points that we test, and we do a lot of energetic medicine in the office. Number 3, $40 billion in sales and antacid sales. So I had already talked to you a little bit about that before. Why is your doctor not telling you about this? Or why have you been put on a antacid? Well, $40 billion in sales annually a year in antacids. So it's a trend that has unfortunately got defined as the standard of care, and yet you have people that are suffering with fibromyalgia, and you go to your doctor and they tell you you're crazy because you shouldn't have fibromyalgia. So, yeah. So do you ever wonder why all of a sudden you got fibromyalgia? It didn't just come out of the blue and someone struck you down like I got struck with lightning and then all of a sudden gave you fibromyalgia. That's not what happened. You expressed a bad gene, basically is what happened. So how do you express a bad gene like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancers, autoimmune diseases? I told you a little bit earlier, hopefully you were paying attention. You get depleted methyl groups. This causes your genes to get expressed improperly. And we just talked about that. HCl is a methyl donor, and those are one of the things that we're going to use for you to get better with your recycling your DNA. So what helps with create methyl groups is a test. This would be HCl. It's a good answer. So this is why it's vital to have proper stomach acid. The other thing it's very important to do is stomach acid also has the same cells that release intrinsic factor, which help us absorb B12. So a lot of the times I have patients that say, I got to go get a B12 shot. Well, what's happening is your stomach is so inflamed from years and years of poor food choices, and even if you are eating healthy, maybe years and years of inflammatory foods that are creating reactions in your body, and so and then years of cooked food that you're not digesting and your HCl reserves go down, stomach cells get inflamed, and now you're no longer secreting intrinsic factor and you can't absorb your B vitamins. And then what happens after that, if we don't have proper B vitamin formation, then we can't form red blood cells and hemoglobin. And if we can't form red blood cells and hemoglobin, then we start getting anemias and we don't get enough oxygen to our brain, and we start having brain fog, and we start having pain, and we start feeling things in our feet that we shouldn't be feeling, or feeling pain in our body that we shouldn't be feeling, or numbness and tingling in our hands, or depression, or we're not digesting very well. So it's a vicious cycle that occurs in our body. So methyl groups are vital for normal cell replication at the level of the DNA, and they also turn cells on and off. And don't really want to get too much in that. But when you have depleted methyl groups, bad genes like oncogenes are turned on and good genes are turned off. That's a good take-home message for you. When you have sufficient methyl groups, good genes like tumor necrosis factor, tumor suppressing genes are turned on, and bad genes are turned off. So it's very, very important. So methyl groups are vital in phase 2 of liver detoxification, and protein methylation, in homocysteine metabolism, in neurotransmitter synthesis, and also nucleic acid synthesis. So I know it's a mouthful, but hang in there with me. I'm going to tell you how I can help you some more, and I think you'll find this very, very valuable. So and again, like I mentioned before, if you suffer with fibromyalgia and you called my office and said you wanted to come and see me, my office staff is trained to make sure that you're not going to be able to come in and see me unless you've actually watched this video. So I feel that, like I've mentioned before, that an educated patient is a patient that will be able to get better faster. And my name is Dr. Rosen, and doctor is a teacher. And I am going to try to teach you and empower you with the knowledge that you can use, so that it's not something that you have to rely on me about. It's something that you can start taking, and I'm sure you already do, start taking responsibility for your health and learn what you can do to get better. And no one is telling you this. And that's why I've created this video. So impaired methylation has been associated with autism too. That's a big one. So let's review everything that I've said up until now. Causes of fibromyalgia are inflammation. We talked about that. Toxicity in our body. We're not able to detoxify properly. We have a congested liver, or our gallbladder isn't secreting enough bile, or we don't even have a gallbladder anymore, or we're not absorbing foods, and we're not methylating, and we're not able to do phase 2 of detoxification. And we have a decreased immune function. So what are some of the causes of this? Increased stomach acidity. We talked about how we can test your stomach acid, free radicals and exotoxins, infections, and autoimmunities. So how do you know what to do? So let's say you come into my office and, okay, I talked to you about all this stuff. It sounds pretty good. It's different from anything else that my other doctors have told me. I'm at my wit's end. Unfortunately, what happens is I see a lot of people that have come in here with piles and piles and piles of paperwork and Santa Claus bags of supplements, and they've been everywhere and they've tried everything and they know everything. And what am I going to do that's been different? I understand that. I understand that you want to make sure that it's not going to be that same road that you've been down before, and you're really looking for something else that's going to get you better. And so you want to know what I would do. So first of all, we're going to do lab testing, and we're going to do kinesiology testing. It's really, really important to look at your lab tests, because I always want to keep everything scientifically based. A lot of lab tests are false negative, meaning they come back, you look at it, and it says nothing's wrong, but really there is something wrong. Or a lot of tests are, even though they're negative or falsely negative, and so they might be positive, it doesn't explain everything. There's a lot of other stuff that testing doesn't tell us. So then we rely on some of our kinesiological testing, which is our energy point testing, and we use those two things together combined for my fibromyalgia patients. Just about every one of my fibromyalgia patients has a thyroid problem. Can't generate energy properly, are cold all the time, are gaining weight, are suffering from brain fog and not knowing where they put their wallet or keys. They're depressed, they're losing their hair, their eyebrows are coming out. They just are not enjoying life. And almost every single one of my fibromyalgia patients has a thyroid problem. So obviously we're going to have to work with the thyroid and the gut to make it function optimally. So let's transition into the thyroid gland a little bit, and let's talk about that. The thyroid runs your metabolism. It's the gas pedal of the body. The example that I use in my office a lot of times is the fact it's the janitor of the body. It goes in the morning, it powers up the school, it turns on the furnace, it opens the blinds, it gets a nice temperature in the school, and it gets it ready for the production of energy for the rest of the day. That's what our thyroid does. It also shields us from toxins like the parathyroid gland does, but more so than anything, there's thyroid receptors in every part of our body, and it needs to be able to get a hormone into those thyroid receptors for that part of the body to generate energy and work properly. Our heart to pound, our lungs to breathe, our liver to detoxify, our gut to digest, our pancreas to help out. It helps with our brain to function. It helps with everything. So that's what our thyroid does. Every cell in our body has a thyroid receptor, like I just mentioned, and these hormones are responsible for most aspects and functions of the body, which we just mentioned as well. Thyroid hormone acts directly on the brain, on the GI tract, the cardiovascular system, bone metabolism, red blood cell metabolism, so gallbladder and liver metabolism, steroid hormone production, glucose metabolism, protein metabolism, body temperature regulation. So it's really, really important. And I'm sure that you have fibromyalgia, and you probably already know you have a thyroid problem. You may have been told you have a thyroid problem first, and now you have a fibromyalgia. So we know that we got to fix that thyroid. And it's not just a matter of going on Synthroid or Cytomel or Nature Thyroid. It's not that, because you have an immune problem, we talked about all this already. So hopefully you know, and you're shaking your head yes, that I can't just take medication and get better. It's not going to happen. You can think of thyroid as the central gear in a sophisticated engine. That's another analogy I use. If that gear breaks down, then that entire engine goes down. So we need to fix that gear. The hypothalamus, basically, so your doctor never tells you how does the thyroid work. The best way I can explain that is a center in our brain called the hypothalamus. It releases thyroid-releasing hormone to the pituitary. And then the pituitary releases thyroid-stimulating hormone, which causes the thyroid to use iodine and thyroid peroxidase enzyme in order to produce thyroid hormone. And of the hormone that it produces, 93% is T4, which is our inactive form, and 7% is T3. And then what happens from there is your thyroid binding globulin, it will take, it's like a taxi cab, and it will take T4 throughout the entire body and go directly to the liver, and 60% of T4 is converted to T3 in the liver. So a lot of the times my thyroid patients / fibromyalgia patients have a congested liver, and it's not converting T4 into T3 very well. So we know we need to fix that liver and help it detoxify better. One of the things that we do in the office, we don't do it in the office, but we recommend, is a coffee enema. Kind of sounds a little weird. It's coffee going up the wrong hole or coming out. We usually drink coffee and we excrete it. But basically, studies have shown since the beginning of time, enemas have been very helpful for creating a cleanse of our bile and a cleanse of our liver. So it's not a mandatory thing to do in my office or recommend to patients to do in their own homes, and we don't do it in an office. But it's certainly going to be helpful, and I'm sure you're at your wit's end by now, and you're looking for a solution to get better. And short of jumping off a bridge, you want to do whatever it takes to get better. 20% of that T4 is converted into T3 in the stomach or in our gastrointestinal system. So again, we need to fix that stomach or gastrointestinal system to get T4, which is the inactive form of thyroid hormone, into T3. And then 20% is converted in our peripheral tissue. So can you see how if I'm taking thyroid medication, it's not going to help my liver, it's not going to help, in fact, probably hurt my liver if I have to metabolize it and break it down, or my gastrointestinal system, if those two things aren't working properly, then I am going to suffer with thyroid problems / fibromyalgia / all the symptoms we've talked about. So T4 to T3 is converted based on having a certain amount of zinc. There's zinc testing that we do in our office, as well as looking some of your blood tests to see if there's a zinc deficiency. Suffice to say, if there is, we can help you with that. Zinc is found in beef. You might want to write this down. Lamb, veal, crab, shrimp, scallops, turkey, pumpkin seeds, oysters, squash, peanuts, and yogurt. So I have some feelings about some of these foods, but try to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of zinc through the natural foods that you're eating. And then if you're not able to do it through there, if you're a vegetarian or you don't eat certain foods, then it's looking at supplementations for that zinc. Low levels of selenium also will cause inactivity of the T3. So selenium in our foods is very, very important. Selenium is found in tuna, cod, halibut, sardines. Got to be careful with some of the heavy metal toxicities in these certain foods. Shrimp, salmon, beef, turkey, and lamb. Those are things that we can find selenium in. T3 has to be accepted by the cells so that magnesium, calcium, and trace minerals are needed. So if our pH is low, which we've talked about already, and we're leaching the minerals from our bone, then we can't also get the T3 that we are making into the cells, because we need that to get them into the cells. That's why it's really important to get that 6.4 to 7.0 first morning pH in the morning. What about my patients that tell me I've had my thyroid removed or I had thyroid cancer? Great questions. All the more reason for you to get thyroid support. And so that's all the more reasons. It doesn't change the fact that we need to fix the breakdowns or the metabolic problems that are occurring upstream and not just where the site of the problem is. That's like saying, let's clean out, maybe I've told you this already, that's like saying, let's clean out this rotted, polluted little lake here, but let's not worry about all the runoff that's coming to the lake that's creating the pollution. We're going to be cleaning it up all the time, and if we're not doing it at the rate that all that runoff is coming into that pond or that lake, then we're going to fight a losing battle. We're going to fight a losing battle anyways, because it's always going to be replicating the sewage and the waste products into that little lake area. So let's discuss medical approaches, alternative approaches, my approach, specific testing, how I can help you, and simple things that you can do to improve your health now. So what's the typical medical approach? I've probably told you by now by standing on my soapbox exactly what it is, but blow off fibromyalgia patients. They're crazy. I'm a doctor and something's wrong with you. I've done all the tests and here comes another crazy fibromyalgia patient, and I just want to get you out of my office. I want to get you on medication. I don't have time to see you. I'm not getting paid the way I'd like to see you. I'm getting paid less than I was before. Medicine is at the end of the day what you need. And you know what? If none of that works, then let's get you on some antidepressants and go see a psychologist because something's wrong with you. That's not what I feel is wrong. There's something that's wrong with them that they're not able to identify what's wrong with you. Fibromyalgia patients are told that they're whack. MD thinks that you're crazy, it's all in your head. Just learn to live with it. It's not that bad. Just try to go out and exercise and eat healthy. How many times have you heard that and you want to pull your hair out, the little bit that you have still remaining? I know. So alternative approaches, what is the alternative approach? It's an integrative approach. It's looking at all the things we've talked about till now. Looking at your pH function and how can we get that pH elevated. Looking at your immune reactions and what different systems in your body may be immune compromised. 80% of our immune system is in our gut, so it's fixing the gut. Liver converts T4 into 3, stomach converts T4 into T3, peripheral tissues convert T4 into T3. Also having an unhealthy digestive system where 80% of our immune system resides. It's all of these things. It's looking at all of those things. So it's an integrative approach. What's best approach for one patient is not the best approach for the other patient, because guess what? Every patient that comes into my office is different. Just like they have a different fingerprint that identifies them amongst all the millions of trillions of people that are in the world, they have different systems in their body that are going amok, and those all need to be identified. How do I know how to do it again? We talked a little bit earlier, lab testing and kinesiological testing. Fibromyalgia is a chronic illness, and I get people that request information from me all the time. I send them some videos, some follow-up information, and I never hear from them. And then what I'll do is I'll send out a blast and say, hey, come on in my office. You've been getting emails from me for 3 weeks, for 3 months, even 3 years. And you know what? I always mail to them because I know at the end of the day, they're still suffering. No one has connected the dots and have done what we've talked about to get you feeling better. And when you're finally sick and tired of being sick and tired, you'll come to my office and you'll hear what I'm going to do to help you, which is everything we've been talking about. If you're tired and sick of being called a label, then you want to do something about it. Again, we talked about a web of physiologic dysfunction. Along with your fibromyalgia, you have what I call many health breakers that are causing your problem. You have a gut dysfunction, you have blood sugar dysregulation, you have inflammation, you have an autoimmunity, you have brain neurotransmitter problems not being formed properly. You have lack of oxygen in your blood and iron potentially, or B vitamins that's not allowing oxygen to be circulated to every part of your body. Your lymphatic system is dysfunctional. It's not draining the toxins from your body. Your liver and gallbladder is dysfunctional. Your fatty acid metabolism is off. Your carbohydrate metabolism is not working. Maybe not all of these things, but a combination of these things are all going on. Energy production is not helping. Electric fields. I don't have it here, but we go through tons of electromagnetic fields on a daily basis. Our cell phones and our Wi-Fi and our traffic lights and transponders and generators. We're subject to those all the time. Dental work, heavy metal toxicities, dissimilar metals. So if you have like mercury in one half of the other side of your mouth and silver in another half, you have an 80 times greater discharge of these metals. You have a battery in your mouth and you have toxicity issues. All are needed to be addressed in order for you to have optimal healing. So lab tests are very, very broad. One of the things about lab tests, which we're going to talk about, is the fact that they're too wide. Traditional blood tests that are very, very important are your comprehensive metabolic profile, which includes your glucose, your A1C, your liver, your kidneys, your vitamin D, your C-reactive protein, homocysteine, and uric acid. Those are the three that I like to look at to see if you have inflammation in your body: homocysteine, uric acid, and C-reactive protein. I can't tell you how many people come in with their blood tests and those aren't on there. And so I can't demonstrate to them how much inflammation is going on in their body, nor can I tell them once we've gone through a trial of a protocol of getting that inflammation down, hey, look, you've gone from here to here, and that's showing a positive improvement. We also look at a complete blood count, which includes obviously our red blood cells, our white blood cells, very, very important. We want to look at a complete thyroid panel, free T4, free T3, T4, T3, T3 uptake, reverse T3. Write all these down because this is what you should be saying, hey, I want my doctor to write this down. So all those. We also look at your thyroid antibodies and lipid panels. I see a mishmash of blood tests come in that don't even have a lot of these things on there. And you know what? We can order them for you and you pay out of pocket a severely discounted rate that I get from the labs, or you go see your doctor and get them to have insurance pay for it. Sensitivity reactions, testing for leaky gut to see if we have the breakdown of our gastrointestinal lining and it's nice and opened, and food are getting partially digested. We look at also what foods that you may be testing sensitive to, so gluten foods or cross-reactive foods like corn, rice, potato, or other foods. So these are some of the things that you may actually have to eliminate for your diet for a little bit of time until we can get that immune system and inflammation settled down. Then maybe you could reintroduce them, but you need to do some serious changes. We need to do maybe an autoimmunity test to see, you know, we think you have a thyroid autoimmunity, but what other stuff do you have? You may have a pernicious anemia, or you may have a joint dysfunction, an autoimmunity against joints, or autoimmunity against neurotransmitters. I mean, it's a lot of things, and sometimes you need to be scared to realize that if you don't change this, you're going down a high road of no return. Organic acid testing, that tests to see if there's optimal fatty acid metabolism or carbohydrate metabolism or B vitamin. Testing is really, really important, but at the end of the day, it matters what you're going to do about it. Stool samples will test if there's any parasites or bacteria, H. pylori, mold, fungus, yeast. All these things need to be identified if we're going to be able to help you with your fibromyalgia. Adrenal saliva test, that's where we take a saliva sample four times throughout the day. In a person that has healthy adrenals, we talked about, should wake up in the morning feeling really, really refreshed and go to bed and hit the pillow and fall asleep like a baby. The next morning happens, wake up right nice and vibrant, and then the night comes and they fall asleep. It's oftentimes reversed where we get up in the morning, hardly can move, want to hit that snooze one more time, got to get up, dragging around, get your morning coffee, get another one. By mid-afternoon, you're starting to feel a little bit better. By nighttime, you're great. That's opposite of how we should be functioning. We know we have an adrenal gland problem. Or let's say you do feel pretty good in the morning and then a stressor happens, you get a call from someone at school that little Johnny's been bad, and all of a sudden your heart rate goes up and you're crashed and you're wiped out for the rest of the day. That's another type of problem. Or let's just say you're stressed right from the very beginning, you never get any energy, and you're just flatlining the whole day. So an adrenal stress gland test will tell us what yours is looking like, what stage of adaptation you are in. Is it an acute stress response or is it a chronic stress response? Is there a blood sugar dysregulation problem? We can tell all these, and that's going to change the supplements and the protocol that we're going to be using to do this. So it's really important to do that test. Hormone testing, we test male and female hormones. If we have an adrenal problem, then more likely we're going to have other testosterone problems, progesterone problems, estrogen problems. We're not going to have energy. This is going to be very important to test these things. Functional ranges, getting into that a little bit, just realize that when you're told your lab tests are normal, I'm going to shake my head and say probably not. They may be not pathologically too high or too low, but you're probably not very, very healthy and you're not in a healthy range. As an example, TSH should be 0.4 to 4.5. That's a huge range. Should be when I say from a lab point of view. So if you do a lab test and it says 0.85, you're told you're normal. You're only told you're not normal when it's 0.45 or lower, or 4.5 or higher. However, from a functional point of view, 1.8 to 3.0, so it's much more narrowly skewed than the high ranges. So we look at your test from a functional point of view. Those are some other examples. Kinesiological testing, testing you with my energy kit. We can test all different points. We can test deep sleep point, an energy point, a thyroid point, a stomach point we talked about, adrenal points, liver point would be here. So there's all these different points that we can test to correlate with your blood testing. So that's the power of the innate intelligence. Sugar is a huge problem. High dietary intake of simple sugars can lead to glycation of numerous proteins. That's a fancy way of saying that you have too high blood sugar levels and that there's a lot of free radicals. You're not getting insulin to respond very well to the cells, and we're starting to develop triglycerides and cholesterol, and you go on a cholesterol lowering medication. You get pain from the side effects of that. I know all this stuff, and all of a sudden you're told that you need to go on cholesterol medication. So that's a huge problem. Let's move on from there. Patient with chronic diseases, including fibromyalgia, should not consume foods that have fructose or refined sugars. AGEs is a huge problem, advanced glycation end products. So let's say you get a nice chicken breast and you put slather all over your barbecue sauce on that, and then you put that on the grill, and then that burns. And what happens is you're creating almost like a hardened candy on that chicken breast, and that's creating AGEs, or advanced glycated end products. What the problem with that is it will signal your cells to produce nitric oxide and superoxide. What happens with that is that can produce free radical damage, and that can create DNA problems. So we're back into that problem again. We talked about that earlier. Do you have sugar cravings? If you're having sugar cravings, and some of the stuff that we use in our office are raw and unfiltered Canadian honey, it's not heated, and pollen, we use something called Max B, or a great product called Gymnema that's really helpful for insulin resistance. Salt is very, very important. Please don't use the white salt. That has a lot of anti-caking properties on it, and when they put it against the copper screens, a lot of copper and nickel gets in there. What you want to use is a form of pink salt. Salt is important for lymphatic drainage and methylation. You cannot maintain your fluid balance if you don't have adequate amounts of salt. And where are we absorbing our salt? In our large intestines. And what are we doing when we have too much problems with gastrointestinal reflux? We're taking antacids, and that's going to create a negative spiral. So even if you feel good, you may be taking enough salt. Many manufacturers, like I said, they use stainless steel screens, which leaves nickel residue. drinking adequate amounts of water. The rule of thumb is half your body weight in pounds in ounces every day. So if I weigh 175 pounds, then I'm looking at taking 75 ounces of water a day. It's not 32 ounces. It's half your body weight in ounces. Your kidney filters 2,000 liters of blood every day. So if you're 150 pounds, then you're taking less of your water that you're required. You're getting dehydration, and your kidneys and adrenals aren't able to function properly. That's a big problem with you. Don't drink tap water. Tap water has a lot of microbes and a lot of fluoride in there, and that's going to create a lot of problems for you. Stop consuming liquids that cause you to dehydrate, like coffees and sodas and energy drinks and alcohol and caffeine. That's creating a lot of problems in your body. The fluoride in the water I just mentioned. Fluoride and chlorine, they'll compete with iodine so that you're not going to be, remember we talked about earlier, iodine is necessary for making thyroid hormone. If you're drinking fluorinated water, or you're swimming in chlorine pools, your receptors are taking those chlorine or fluoride molecules in, and you're not producing thyroid hormone optimally. Iodine is needed for thyroid hormone, which we just talked about. So how do you get chlorine and fluorine? How would you even be exposed to that? Tap water, toothpaste, pesticides, hair coloring, dyes. Another one that should be on there is swimming in chlorinated pools. That's another one. And what does that lead to if you're taking a lot of that in? Cancer, brain damage, low estrogen and testosterone, stomach damage, joint pain. So can you see here how you don't have fibromyalgia per se? You have so many other things that are going on with you that no one is taking the time to try to fix with you. Also, these things will create kidney stones, immune function, infertility, attacks your hypothalamus, damages your DNA, toxic to brain. So many things that are going wrong. Let's talk about magnesium. Magnesium is a very, very important mineral that we need in our body for smooth muscle relaxation. It's important for proper bone formation. It maintains the muscle function. It releases energy from muscles storage. It regulates our body temperature, proper absorption of calcium. So magnesium is very, very important. It helps with the adrenal glands as well. Your adrenal glands makes adrenaline, which fights off any major stressors. And if you're not getting enough magnesium, then you're not able to fight off stress very well. So in order to help your adrenals, write this down. This can be very, very helpful for you. Drink plenty of good water. So that's water that's filtered, or water that's not only filtered. What was the other word I was looking for? Forget it. I forgot. A little bit of a brain fog right now for myself. But you also want distilled. So filtered or distilled would be good sources of water. Pink salt, we sell that in our office. That's a good source of salt. A natural B vitamin we have in our office. Vitamin C, not the actual ascorbic acid, but actual vitamin C sources. And 5 hours of continuous sleep. The optimal time is between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So can't tell you how many patients I talk to that are still up at 11 o'clock. You're missing out prime time for your adrenal glands to replenish themselves. So get to bed earlier. These are some of the things you need to do. If your adrenals aren't working and you don't have significant magnesium, it's another reason why you're not healthy and why you're suffering with fibromyalgia. So low magnesium could lead to production of other things in your body. I'm going to move on from there. And can lead to basically chronic digestion or depression, and also problems with your adrenal glands. Bad oils. Can't tell you how many times this will drive me crazy. You go to the grocery store, picture you're walking through the oil section, and you see all these oils that are in clear plastic bottles. What happens is those oils are getting sunlight penetrating to those oils, and they should be in a dark colored. I prefer the tin or a glass bottle, and I don't prefer the clear bottles. And then what's happening, that sunlight helps to rancidify those oils. It helps to oxidize them. And now you're eating bad oils. And what does that result in? Hydrogenated oils in our food. They reduce cell membrane fluidity, so things can't get into and out of the cell. It makes it more permeable for viruses and bacteria and susceptible to cancers. So bad oils is a huge problem. What are some of the bad oils? Canola oil, rapeseed oil. Those are both things that are used for furniture polish. Something's wrong there. Homocysteine, we talked about that being one of the major factors for determining if you have too much inflammation in your body. So we need to look at your homocysteine levels if you're suffering with fibromyalgia. Homocysteine can be generated in response to a toxic or nutritionally deficient diet. Homocysteine is increased in the blood. This is linked to neurodegeneration, meaning your brain starts to get smaller and degenerate. Alzheimer's studies show that there's a problem with homocysteine levels. Remember, what we use to help with regenerating DNA is our HCl, which helps with methyl groups. So that's very, very important. Methyl groups are important for homocysteine metabolism. Interference fields. This is where we talk about if we've had any scars or we've had traumas or surgeries or tattoos all over the body. Our energy flows through our body, and we get these scars. We had a major, heart surgery or a major C-section, or we've had a tattoo. What happens is that energy is not flowing through your body optimally, and when it gets to that tissue trauma or scar tissue area, it's called an interference field, and that interference field can sedate your thyroid. Many traumas to the head can sedate thyroid, or immunizations will sedate thyroid, or having immunizations in the butt that will sedate your kidneys. Those are all called interference fields, and those are things that we can do to help you. So traumas, surgeries, tattoos, blows, piercings, all of these create interference fields. Common interference fields to the thyroid is our chin, our neck, our nose, our forehead. That can go our stomach, our clavicle, how many people have broken their clavicle, our chest, our chin. So all of these things can sedate different areas in our body. Thymus is responsible for detoxification and lymph. We can get an interference field through the chin and the nose. So you're not crazy, people. There's things going on in your body that you don't even realize are affecting your health, and that's causing your thymus, your thyroid, your stomach points to test off, and blood tests aren't showing this, but yet you have fibromyalgia and you're not living life the way you should. So we can do lots of different things to help you with that. What do we do in our office? We mud pack. Seems a little bit weird, but what it basically does is you get this bentonite clay that's rich with ionizing minerals, and what will happen is we will mud pack that area, and that will create an exchange of healthy ionization to help detoxify that area and reduce the interference field, and it's awesome. So it's really, really good. There's a premier quality that we use in our office. It's effective at cleansing. It's called a body pack. It contains premium clay, peat magma, and targeted botanical agents that help cleanse that area, and they've been using these for centuries. So people take mud baths, or you may be familiar with going to a spa and doing mud baths. That's a good form of it, but there's so many other protocols we have to do to be able to make sure you can tolerate that, especially being fibromyalgic and immune compromised. We need to do a whole protocol before you're even ready for that. Otherwise, we'll make you deathly ill and sick and wipe you out. Medi-body packs initiate a thermal effect, which is a deep intrinsic cleansing effect. This is unique clay botanical formula that we use. It's made using 100% quantity quality ingredients, no oxidized peat or weak or dead clay. So very, very important if you want to try to get help with that. Emotions. Now, by now, if you do have fibromyalgia, you probably are going a little bit crazy because everyone is telling you that you're crazy. Nothing's wrong with you. No one's listening to you. You're fatigued. You're in pain. You're not getting proper fuel to your brain. You're a bit depressed. So what happens is emotionals can really stunt your healing and stunt your health and stunt your ability to get better. So we use something called emotional repolarization technique. It's very, very easy to do, but some of the things that we talk about when we're doing that is I can be healthy now. I can do whatever it takes to be healthy now. I can now love myself. I can now love and forgive myself. I can now love and forgive my father. This is a really powerful part of the program that we're talking about. If you don't believe that you can get healthy now, or if you can't forgive people, there is emotional emotional interference fields that can sedate areas in our body, and we need to address those. So hopefully this is really making sense to you. I don't have to use this on everyone, but it's very helpful, and by now you need to think outside the box on how you're going to get better with your fibromyalgia. This is one of the things that we're doing in our office. In Chinese medicine, there's emotional points are related to different organs. Specifically, the liver is an angry organ. So if our liver is congested, if you've been on birth control pills and you've had immunizations and there's a lot of toxicity in your body, then there's a chance that your liver is not testing optimally and there's a lot of anger. So you're not a happy camper a lot of the time. Resentment and jealousy, or kidneys may be stagnated and energy points may be off for there, and that's where we have fear and a lot of anxiety. So hopefully these are making sense to you. Also in Chinese medicine, we have syndromes that are related to specific organs, like liver can equal neck and shoulder pain, or kidneys can equal low back and leg pain. So if you're having a lot of these things, you're probably having more than one thing that's going on with the body. Let's talk about insomnia, or your inability to sleep. If you have a problem with unable to fall asleep, in Chinese medicine, we know you have a gallbladder problem. If you have a problem with unable to stay asleep, then we know there's a stomach digestive problem. If you're groggy in the morning and you have no energy, then we know, we talked about this, we have an adrenal problem. Gallbladder is a huge problem. Over 40, you're going to have diminished ability to secrete bile. There's probably going to be a problem with your gallbladder if you still have it, so we need to support it with proper nutrition. B6 is really important. What it does is it keeps the bile salts suspended in the gallbladder, and birth control depletes B6, so that could be a huge problem. High stress also depletes B6. So we need to keep the bile salts in suspension if we're going to get any success with you. You have to eat fats, but if you don't have proper bile formation, you may not be absorbing your fats and your fat-soluble vitamins. That's a huge problem. Bile also helps remove waste products from the liver, and it also helps with relieving excess cholesterol within the blood. So that's a huge problem. If you have no gallbladder, then obviously you need some help. Liver is important for bile production and excretion of bilirubin and cholesterol, hormones and drugs, metabolism of fats, enzyme activity, storage of glycogen, synthesis of proteins, detoxification. We all know that these liver problems could result in some of your fibromyalgia. Coffee enemas and Bmax. Brain fog, we talked a little bit about that. If you're not getting proper oxygen to the blood, you're going to have brain fog. After the age of 25, your ability to handle oxygen decreases by 1% per year. So if you're over than 50, then you've lost 25% of your ability to utilize oxygen. All right, so let's talk about EMFs, or otherwise known as electric magnetic fields. So you have fibromyalgia, you're suffering, you're fatigued, you have brain fog, you have pain all over your body, the doctors are telling you that you're crazy, and they look at your blood tests and there's nothing really going on, but you know deep down that there are things going on, and everything that we've talked about up until now, such as inflammation, immune problems, detoxification. But now we got to start to look outside the box, and we got to start to understand how the environment is affecting our body. So the environment in terms of the things that we breathe, the foods that we eat, the toxins we get exposed to, but no one is looking at electric magnetic fields. I read somewhere out there not too long ago that there is a study saying that since I want to say like 1995, the environmental exposures to electric magnetic fields have increased over 300 million times. So now we have Wi-Fi, we have satellites, we have cell phones, we have all this bombardment of electric magnetic fields, and we have this huge increase of cancers and brain cancers and all these different links to chronic conditions, and no one is looking at that. So what we do in our office is, number one, from a cell phone point of view, we all hold our cell phones on our bodies, and I have patients that have different jobs that hold one or two different cell phones on the body, and basically our cell phone is one big microwave, so it receives information. I mean, have you ever wondered how you can be driving on the highway and you program in your maps a destination, and then all of a sudden it pops up on your phone and it shows you where you are and where you're going to? Well, your phone is constantly emitting an electromagnetic field, and that electromagnetic field will depolarize your cells and create a toxic environment in your body, and that could be a huge problem as to why you're suffering. So one of the things we do in our office is I sell these Q discs that go on the back of the phone, and that will reduce the electromagnetic frequencies that are being exposed from your phone. So that's a big thing, but also other things like looking at your home environment, or even being in the car all day, that emits an electromagnetic field in your body every day. So that's a huge part of what we do in our office, and we have different things that can, the word is called remediate, or at least reduce the emittance of the different electromagnetic fields that you're subjected to on a daily basis. So electromagnetic field, electricity is movement of electrons. The type of electricity running through our power lines is an alternating current. Another way I would explain that is if you live in 4 walls and you have power outlets on each wall, you have alternating currents, and those currents are going back and forth, and you're being subjected to those. So that produces an electric field and a magnetic field. The electric field is produced by voltage, which is force needed to push the electrons through the wire, much like a water being pushed through a hose, and a magnetic field, which results in a flow of current through wires or electrical devices. It increases in strength as the current increases. These two fields together are known as electromagnetic fields. Since magnetic fields are most likely to penetrate the body, they're the components of the electromagnetic field that are usually studied in relationship to cancer. So the magnetic fields. Examples of devices that emit electromagnetic fields are power lines, electrical appliances. Power lines are pretty amazing. I'll be in my car and I like to listen to an AM sports radio station, and every time I come to a certain intersection, it always fuzzes in and fuzzes out, and it just gets really loud, and you can hear that static going over and over and over again. If that's exposing changes to my radio in my car, what do you think that's doing to my body? So other things like electrical appliances, hair dryers are really, really bad. Scanners at stores, so things that we scan through, or we're walking through doors, electronic doors that open up and when we go in or out. Even at the airport, we have to put our hands up and the radiation and the magnetic field goes around us. Wi-Fi, TVs, much more. Appliances should be turned off at the end of the day, and we shouldn't have a Wi-Fi device in our room. The strength of the magnetic field also decreases the further we are away from it. So if you can in your house, it's really, really important to try to get all these electronic devices to another side of the house. The thyroid is one of the main shields for electromagnetic field radiation. So if you're coming in with a fibromyalgia problem, then chances are your thyroid is being exposed and bombarded with all these different electromagnetic fields. These are things that we need to minimize. And I always say to patients, it's small hinges that swing big doors. So a small hinge would be putting this on the back of your cell phone so that when you're holding it on your person for 3, 4, 5, 8 hours a day, you're reducing that frequency and the exposure to your cells. That can make a huge difference. But it's just a small thing we need to do. And there's small things we can do to really remediate the fields that are being exposed to you. So those things that we do in our office as well. Xenoestrogens. This is a huge problem in the environment today. So what are xenoestrogens? Xenoestrogens are chemicals that mimic estrogen and they compromise hormonal function. Studies show that xenoestrogens cause cancer. So where would we find ourselves being exposed to these xenoestrogens? That's a good question. However, xenoestrogens are caused by hormones in meat, pesticides, fruits and vegetables, dairy, milk, cheese, butter, ice cream, the growth hormone that's found in dairy, also strontium-90, which is a radioactive isotope from radioactive waves. Those are exposed on a daily basis. They're dirty dozen. So these are grapes, apples, celery, bell peppers, peaches, strawberries, nectarines, spinach, lettuce, cucumbers, blueberries, potatoes, green beans, and kale. These are all classified as the dirty dozen that have been sprayed with different toxins that have xenoestrogens that mess with our hormone receptors. So where else do we see exposures? Nutritional supplements that are synthetic. That's why we only use the best non-synthetic, non-toxic tag-along supplements in our office. Laundry detergents, fabric softeners, sheets, coffee, microwave, plastic containers, birth control pills, soy products, soap. So really, I mean, you can get super crazy with all the non-natural synthetic environmental toxins that we're exposed to, but just think about small little changes that you can do that's going to make a tremendous effect on your body, and it's not having to take another pill or having to see another doctor or having to be frustrated being told that you're crazy. It's just small little changes. Your nutritional supplements contain excipients, so these are things that that the supplement company will put in your supplement so that they can flow better. So if you've ever had a protein shake or any type of shake like a greens mix and you try to mix it up in water and you have these little clumps in there that's what happens when they're actually making supplements. So they put flowing agents in there so those will dissolve that clump and help it form a nice consistent white pill. And so those, and if it's a white pill, you should never ever eat that, because that means that there's a chalk or a glue or a binder in there that's created that. So any type of supplement you take should be a capsule that when you pull apart, these little, I guess the little ingredients in there should be powdered, because you don't want it to be any type of something that's been put together synthetically. So those, you have to be very careful about that. Just a few excipients commonly found in nutritional products. Magnesium stearate. So write this down, write magnesium stearate down, and then go look at any of the supplements that you have and see if it contains that. What that is it's a cheap lubricating agent, and research shows that compromises your immune system. And where did we talk about your immune system being? 80% of it is in your gut, so it's going to compromise your gut. Methylparaban is a benzenite family member known to cause cancer. It's a problem. Microcrystalline cellulose, that's a cheap filler, so something to bind everything together. Silicone dioxide is a cheap flowing agent, like it's sand, but basically it helps everything flow in the processing plant of their supplement company. Natural flavors, aka monosodium glutamate, these are neurotoxic. These are you go to very problematic. Vegetable capsules versus tablets or gelatin capsules. Make sure that, like I just mentioned, you don't want to have any supplement that is a white sort of tablet type substance. Want to make sure there's no damaging heat or pressure, no degrading nutrients, and no rancid oil byproducts. And we've talked about that already. So really important to switch to a nutritional company that has none of these things. 50% better absorption when you use a better company. It easily breaks down in your stomach. There's no toxic glues, binders, or fillers. So all PRL products are in a violet container, which means basically no sunlight gets exposed to them, and they don't emit a plasticizer. They're dark PET plastic bottles designed to block the light that creates radiation and damages the ingredients. So stay away from all synthetic nutritional products, please. Avoid anything that says enriched. This is mainly why I use PRL products. So what I do is I usually individually tailor your protocol based on some muscle testing that we do in order to get maximum healing. And so not all two patients are alike in a fibromyalgic setting, in any type of setting, and so we need to really tailor this program for you. This is how we're going to help you heal. So my goal is to decrease your inflammation, detoxify your body, and increase the function of your immune system. So how do we do it? How do we help you? We decrease inflammation, we detoxify, and we improve your immune system. And number one, we talked about at length, we want to try to get 6.4 to 7.0 in terms of your morning pH, or your pH throughout the entire day, but really it's important to have your morning pH be balanced. Juicing, vitamin mixes are awesome, or juicers are really, really good. Organic vegetables, except for the dirty dozen that we talked about. Coffee enemas, which we talked a little bit about, they'll all help detoxify the liver. As well as after we've done proper testing, we'll know which supplements are best for you. Some of the main ones that I see that helps balance our pH the best are vitamin D, some aloe, and coral minerals. We call that our pH trio, and we use that in the office. Detoxifying is very, very important. Foot baths are great for detoxifying. Mud packs, looking at your interference fields and looking at any electromagnetic fields, looking at your dental work and your cell phone. So these are big things that we can do to help you detoxify. Our nutritional protocol through testing and lab work, we do that as well. And then we do some neurological testing and support. So when we have a fibromyalgia problem, when we're not utilizing fuel optimally, we start to develop other symptoms because our brain is not getting the proper not getting the proper fuel that it should. So when that happens, we may feel pain in certain areas that we shouldn't feel, or we may not feel our feet that we should feel, or we may have some balance and vestibular problems. So we do a lot of neurological testing. So next questions I usually get is, I would love to be your patient, Dr. Rosen, but I don't have the money right now. I'm on disability because my fibro is so bad and I'm unable to work. And I get that a lot, and I understand. It would be great if insurance paid for everything and I wouldn't have to try to convince people to take their health into their own hands, and they could just say, well, if my insurance covers it, I'll get it done, and if my insurance doesn't cover it, I won't get it done. Just life doesn't work like that. So what I would tell to you is, don't say, okay, I'm not a patient, I'm not a good candidate. That's okay. You can still take my nutritional supplements, and we can tailor a program for you with my supplements. Or you can bring in your own supplements, and I can test you and see if those supplements are helping you or they're harming you. So again, I use the highest quality supplements that you could possibly use because I take them, and so does my family takes them as well. Your health is the best investment that you can ever make. I always tell patients, your insurance doesn't pay for a lot of what I do in the office, and why should it? I mean, your insurance doesn't pay for your home, it doesn't pay for your car to get fixed. It didn't pay for your education, it doesn't pay for your trips. I mean, what good is it going on a trip if you can't function and feel healthy and have fibromyalgia all the time? I'll tell patients it's okay to chintz on a trip. So you may go on a trip and you're not getting, you go on a cruise and you're going in one of the rooms that is situated in the middle, and it's not in the back, and you're saving money, and you're not going off the boat, and you're just using the food that you already prepaid for. It's okay to do that. You can save money, but when it comes to your health, you don't want to chintz on your health. Your health is your best investment. The pH balance is what we use. I talked about that earlier, D3. Most people I see, if you've had a blood test recently, check out your vitamin D 25-OH. I would bet you it's going to be below 40. I just had a gentleman the other day, it was 18. We need to get your vitamin D somewhere between 60 to 80. You may think, oh, that's too high, but even studies show that it's a pro-hormone and it's actually for an effective immune function. You even want it above 80, so somewhere in 80 to 100. Cell energy, we use Quinol ND, Neuro ND, CoQ10, IP6. Stomach, we use Gastrovan, HCl, Digest, HCl Activator. So these are some of the supplements I'm sharing with you that we use in our office for these different points. Liver, we use B-Max ND and Liver ND. Gallbladder, we use Gallbladder ND and Bilivan. Sleep, we use Tranquinol and Melatonin. Inflammation, we use Inflamma ND and Curcumin. This is a turmeric that helps with inflammation in our body. It helps with the Th1 and Th2 pathways that we talked about earlier. Coffee enemas. So again, I wouldn't just give you the supplements and say, here, take this. We're actually going to take you through a nutritional testing protocol and find out what we can use to balance your energy sources in your body and make sure that all these systems are functioning optimally. So keep in mind the interference fields, any scar tissues, tattoos, traumas, surgeries that you've had, electric magnetic fields that are bombarding you on a daily basis, emotional issues that are helping us not to heal optimally, like I can do everything in my power to get well, I can love myself, I can be loved. These are huge problems that patients have that they don't realize that are affecting their health, and even dental issues. So having dissimilar metals in the mouth is creating a battery-like discharge up to 80 times more in your mouth than having one metal in there, and that's creating a whole bunch of problems with your systems. Neuro ND helps to boost energy. It also helps quench free radical damage, like the fire hose, putting out the fire in your body. And we talked about one of the 3 pillars to your health is decreasing inflammation. That's a great one that we use. We call something called a rocket fuel. So I have a lot of patients that have no energy whatsoever. And so one of the concoctions that we have through the PRL is Quinol ND, Neuro ND, Green Tea ND, and Max B. I'm telling you, if you feel like you need to have a coffee every morning, you take this every morning and you just sip it throughout the day, you're not going to feel like you need the coffee anymore. So I really hope that this video has given you hope. It's given you a renewed sense of empowerment to feel like you can get better. There's something you can do. There's someone out there that is going to listen to what you have going on, that understands the nature of your condition, that knows that you're not crazy, and knows that there's a lot of environmental factors that are affecting your health. And I want to let you know that you can take control of your life and that you do have options. So I want to help you not just feel better, but I want you to thrive and do the things that you're not able to do anymore. Play with your grandchildren, go on vacations, and do the things that you love to do. So I will tell patients that typically a consultation with me is $250. I do work with distant patients as well, so I can work over the phone and have you complete a pretty in-depth questionnaire and get to the heart of the matter. You know what, though, I tell patients, if I ask you how serious do you consider your health and how much do you want to really get better, and you on a scale of 10 being you would run through a brick wall and do whatever it takes to get better, and 0 meaning you wouldn't do a thing. If you're not at least an 8 out of 10, then don't reply to this video, because you're not serious enough or you're not suffering enough, and that's fine, that's okay. But I really want the people that are anywhere between an 8 and hopefully a 10 that would really do anything. If you mention that you've watched this DVD, then I'll give you 2 free consultations for $60. I do have a disclaimer at the bottom of this video, which basically says that the patient and any other person responsible for payment has the right to refuse to pay, to cancel payment, or being reimbursed for their payment for any other services, examinations, or treatments which is performed as a result of responding to this ad. within 72 hours of responding to this advertisement for the free, discounted, or reduced free service, examination, or treatment. I have to mention that to be compliant with my board, which means if I'm offering you a discounted service, you have the right to be reimbursed for anything that you've paid for additionally within 72 hours. So basically, I'm giving you this deal for $60. Just mention that you watch this video. And so a lot of questions I'll get is, does my insurance cover this? The insurance covers very little. It may cover a little bit of some of the things we do, and we can tell you how it works when you come on in and you give us our insurance. But does this make sense to you? Did you find this valuable? We're here to help people get better, people to give them hope and a new sense of life and commitment in their life. So I'll do everything in my power to work with you. So if I present a case plan to you and you find that doesn't meet your budgetary means, then we can do a drop down and we can say, okay, let's do these tests, or let's just do a nutritional protocol. So I'll do everything I can to work within your financial means. Last thing I would say to you is, it's great that you may have all this information and you've sat here, and I commend you for watching this video up until now. But information without action is dead. It's not information. It's like you don't even know it. So really set an appointment. A diagnosis of fibromyalgia is not a death sentence, so realize that you can get better. It doesn't mean that you don't have a chance to live a long, full, happy life full of energy. So what can you do now if you don't come in to see me? Change your diet. So don't eat any refined sugars, no high fructose corn syrup, including soda, red meat, caffeine, alcohol, white flour, fruit juices, high saturated fats, trans fats, all food additives, coloring agents, preservatives, no junk food. If you smoke, stop smoking. Those are things you could do now. Increase the amount of fresh organic vegetables that you get in your diet. Very limited in fruits. You should just remain with the stone fruits, which are basically pitted fruits like plums, peaches, even blueberries are low glycemic. Organic grass-fed chicken and fish are very important. Although fish don't eat grass, so we didn't take that away. Organic chicken, grass-fed meats are very important, but limit the meats. Detoxify your body, so massages are great. Doing a sauna or a steam room. Infrared technology is awesome. We're starting to get into that a little bit in our office, and maybe by the time you watch that video, we're doing a lot more of that, but that's a great way to detoxify the body. Vitamin D, get out in the sun. You need to be on some kind of very, very healthy vitamin D supplement. Nutritional supplements we talked about a little bit earlier. Use good fats. Don't be afraid to use coconut oil or olive oil or eat avocados. Those good fats are really, really important for all your cells. Stop eating gluten, dairy, and soy. I could go on for another 2 hours, and I'm sure you don't want me to do that. But get off of those three main pathogenic or inflammatory type foods. Start to exercise, if that means go for a walk, go to the gym. Start to get your body moving. Read labels, and if it says natural, artificial, then we know that that's MSG. Don't eat that. My final thoughts: where there is no vision, the people will perish. Picture yourself getting better and doing all the things that you love to do: traveling, participating in a sport, going back to school, going out with your friends. That can all come back to you. See yourself spending more time with your loved ones, your friends, and your family. Ask yourself the following questions. How has fibromyalgia affected my relationship, my finances, your family, your activities? What has it cost you in terms of time, happiness, sleep, all those things, money? Where do you picture yourself in the next 1 to 5 years? Is this problem going to get better if you keep going down the road that you're going? We have one chance in this thing called life, and we really want to live it at its fullest. What is it worth for you to get your condition improved? I'm here to help you, and I want to help you. So your body will heal, but it needs the right tools and equipment to do that. You are the treasure, and your body is once in a lifetime type thing. Your health, like I said, is the best investment that you'll ever make. Please share this video with other people on Facebook, internet message boards, family and friends, so we can spread the word and we can help as many people as we can. help me spread the word on what we're doing in fibromyalgia cases. If you're interested in a consultation or setting up a time to speak with me, give us a call at 561-883-0090 and let's get you start feeling better. I really look forward to having you come to my office, and I commend you on watching this entire video, and hopefully you got some value out of this and you realize that you can get some help in this. If you'd like to email me my info with any questions after watching this, my email is info@bocahealthcarecenter.com. Again, it's info@bocahealthcarecenter.com. Feel free to email me and I will email you back. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.